Hello guys, I am OG, back with another Etheria restart video. This time I'm going to talk about Heinrich. He is recently new for me because I just got him from permanent banner and got lucky. I've been trying to pull him for a while and today is the day. So let's start what is his skill before we try to build him. First, Heinrich is a Godslayer guns with the faction of disorder. So he is like a dark element, and then he is like a DPS that can give some powerful debuff. So let's see the first skill. Okay, farewell shot. So he shoot a bullet with his gun dealing 220% damage to a single enemy with a 35% chance to inflict one turn block, and then it also has Reaper case. Each time Heinrich attack has 40% chance to dispel one buffs from the target, and if the target has no dispellable buffs, it has 80% chance to give a last words debuff. So the debuff is increased critical damage taken by 7% and critical hit by 7%. So your friends and allies will deal more critical damage and will have higher critical chance when hitting them. It can stack 4 times. So like times 4 times 7 is like 28% increase for your whole team to deal damage, which is very good. It lasts for 2 turns. And then for the second skill is Fatal Split Bullet. He deals 160% damage to a single enemy, and then 160% to a random enemy, and finally 160% to all enemies. If the target has no dispellable buffs, there is 50% chance to inflict wound. Wound means they cannot receive healing. So this can be really good if your enemy have some healing mechanic or healers, so they will not be able to get healed. And then for the ultimate is Inevitable Fate. So he deals 3 times of 90% damage to all enemies, with the final hit have 65% chance to inflict one turn block. Block is cannot be applied with any buff. So every 1 stack of last word on the target, it will increase the skill critical damage by 20%. Alright. So after we read all of the skills, we can see that he inflict a lot of debuffs, right? Have block, last words, and also wound. And what is the first skill? Yeah, block and last words. So by this ability, we want to make sure to build a critical. I think if I'm building Heinrich, I want to make sure because he already gives the critical hit increased by 7% and critical damage increased by 7% times 4. So all you need to do is to build critical. So in here, I'm trying to build a onslaught with keen eye currently. But if you have a better, you can also change with something that's... Oh, my keen eye is missing 3 more. Let me put the keen eye. I forgot. So where is keen eye? Okay. Let's just do this. Okay. Alright, so onslaught and keen eye. I put onslaught because I think Heinrich still lack of attack percent, right? He has a lot of critical damage from this and from the last words. So I want to make sure that his base crit is also get higher when he has a lot more attack. So that's one of the reason why I choose onslaught. And then the keen eye is critical damage increased by 18%, but it also has 25% increase on the first 3 instance. Look, so the first one is 25% increase, 15% and 5% respectively. So it can be useful for like quick battle because most battle lasts only like 3 turns, right? So that's fine to have at least the first and the second turn get 25% and 15%. So the first one you always want to use ultimate, because that's where you get the most damage increase, right? And then for the stat, I try to get effect accuracy as much as possible, because that's where he want to give the buffs, right, to your enemy. And then for the crit rate, crit damage, I'm actually looking for accuracy here, effect accuracy, but I still don't have it yet. So, oh, okay, I have it here. So you want to make sure you have a lot of effect accuracy. I'm lack of material to upgrade, so you want to make sure at least have maybe 70% to 100%, because of how much he has a lot of like debuff, right? When you are giving debuff, it's important that you have to have enough effect accuracy. So that's why I prefer just get effect accuracy and then here crit rate. So you want to make sure at least he has 70% crit rate, because he already gave the last words to your enemy, so that's like 28% crit rate, right? So that's why I'm just focusing on 70%. So this is unleveled yet, so it's not max. So when you are min maxing, you can probably remove the crit rate for something like attack percent, or something like could also be speed. But yeah, mostly you want to have a crit rate to make sure you have reached 100% and also have high effect accuracy too. Here you can up like that. See, which I think if it's max, it give like 60%. So that's not too bad, right? Because right now it's 31%. So that's like 70% total. This one also, I try to get as much as crit rate and effect accuracy. So that's for the model. I aim for onslaught to get maximum. So attack plus 45%, which is very useful for him. And then also critical damage for the keen eye and 25% final damage and critical damage 18%. That's the best I can get for now. But if you have a better version, you can always change to what you need in your team. Now for the prowess or the skill, I will prioritize the first skill need to have at least level 3 here, because it has a chance to dispelling the buff to 50% instead of 40% chance, which is quite significant, right? That's 10% increase. And then the ultimate, this is, I think you want to have at least level 3, because this increase critical damage boost by 30% for each stack. So if you have 4 stack, that's times 4, 120% critical damage. That's one of the reasons why he hit so hard, so painful, because of the critical damage increase. And it's also have good multiplier damage, and also have a block, to make them cannot get any buff, which is very important. So in PvP, you actually probably want more of speed instead of onslaught. But for PvE, I prefer to have onslaught, because more damage is good for me. And for the speed, I can just give a speed buff from Fujio, like this unit. This unit give a lot of speed buff, right? And then yeah, so that's one of the reason I'm aiming more on the onslaught. For this skill, I don't really care much about this, but you can increase it to level 3 also, to make sure that the wound debuff chance is 65%. Alright, so if you don't have the enough of the skill point, you don't really need to touch this at all, it's fine. But this one you need to at least level 3, it's a must, because 30% is huge difference. And this one also to dispelling the buffs 50% chance. So you kinda need at least 4 skill point for Heinrich. That's the minimum, okay? And then for the shell, I currently use a golden lion, but using the keen eye or onslaught. For this you can actually choose to have the one that have speed. Probably is also fine because speed is always good for him to act first, right? Where is my speed one? Currently I don't have much, so you can also choose the swift rush and keen eye if you want to more for PvP. But for PvE I prefer the attack 45% because of Heinrich kinda low on attack. Okay, because I like to use Heinrich for PvE. I want him to deal as much damage as possible, so that's one of the reason I choose onslaught. While the speed I can just get the buffs from my support unit. So that's for the shell. Okay, and then for the passive effect on the slot one, you want to get at least like attack percents or attack this one. That's the best one for him. And then for the slot 2, I would get something that speed is always good, or also affect accuracy, focus. So focus and speed is the top that you should aim, but it's also crit rate is also fine, but it's not necessarily if you have enough already. If you aiming penetration, you can at least change one of the module in here. One of this crit rate change to something that's maybe increasing more damage. So that's also an option, which is always a good, okay? Because when you want to always have at least 70% in my opinion to have crit rate. So if you can manage to have 18% and 80%, I mean, you don't really need penetration at all. Okay, you can get penetration if you want to replace the others model. And then for the slot 3, I would like to get the assault 8% final damage, but you can also get something like where is the insight here. So it gives 60% effect accuracy, and this is for quick battle, actually good for Heinrich because Heinrich want to finish battle as soon as possible anyway, right? So that's it for my guide on how to build Heinrich. If you guys have any other advice or opinion, please let me know in the comment below. Thank you and see you for the next video.